Recently, Bitcoin shot above 28K, but will it continue? We'll see what happens here. So, Bitcoin is at 27,500. When it was up here, it was looking like it might shoot through, but not so far. One thing that's interesting is we have what is this, the 50-day, let me check. This is the 200-day moving average. It shot above that. The last time we had this was back in February 13th. It got rejected, but then we shot back up. Perhaps we could see something similar in the works here. We also shot above the 200-day moving average back in late August, and we just got rejected from that pretty quickly. Looks like we could be getting a rejection here. And I also have this trend line here. Could we be heading down to 26,700? That's on my radar. That's kind of what I'm looking at. But this is looking like a very bullish setup. So that is positive. Let's take a look at the astrology, as that's what we do on the channel. We look at the Bitcoin astrology. Let's go to October. So we do have this positive aspect. Wow. The Saturn sextile the Bitcoin Pluto. That we got a massive pump off of this right there on October 3rd. So this is positive, very positive energy there. That's going to continue through into November. Now we also have positive aspect with the Uranus trine the Bitcoin Saturn. And that's going to be continued. We're going to get a direct hit on October 27th. So that's bullish during eclipse season. We also have the Jupiter trine the Bitcoin Sun is bullish. We get a direct hit on October 10th. But it is active right now. It is in orb. That's bullish. But what we have is the Saturn coming into orb over the Bitcoin Venus. This is happening on October 5th, but it's continuing through December 1st. The only thing is this isn't as strong as it was back in March. Back on March 11th, when we had that major dump with the Silicon Valley bank collapse, we had a direct hit with Saturn conjunct Venus. However, this time we're not going to get a direct hit. It's just going to get really, really close. So perhaps this is not nearly as powerful as it was back in March. So that's very interesting to think about. Let's see. Oh, we also have this right here. So this will be some bearish action on October 5th. We get a direct hit. This is Uranus square the Bitcoin Neptune. And yeah, that's a negative. So we're going to get a negative on October 5th. So we could potentially see a dump on October 5th. So I'm going to be keeping a close watch on that. All right, because we're going to be getting this square and then also the Saturn going over the Bitcoin Venus on the same day, October 5th. So yeah, I'm definitely going to keep my eye on that one. Another thing I want to look at is, thanks to Jason Pizzino, this graph here is of the historically for the S&P 500 cycle composite. I guess this is the averages for pre-election years. We're in a pre-election year right now. This is what typically happened. It does go up in September, and similarly, we had a green September. We just closed on the monthly green September for Bitcoin, which was very surprising to many people, as there's only been, I think, 4 or 5 green Septembers in Bitcoin's history. So pretty rare there. But then, excuse me, actually, no, this is showing a green August and then the September dump. Okay, excuse me. So yeah, this is actually a red September according to this, but we just closed a green September for Bitcoin. So That's interesting. It's not lining up perfectly with this, but as these are just averages. But what this is showing is that the whenever there's a dump, so then it's showing a green October, but just a lot of choppy action. So we could be seeing a volatile October for sure. We could see some pumps and dumps. Um, but overall, it's very interesting. Overall, October looks overall positive. So we could see a green October. And I've just learned that when Bitcoin has a when Bitcoin has a green September, like we've seen this year, officially, historically, October, November, and December are also green as well. So we could see a green October. That doesn't mean we're not going to see dumps. You know, we could see an overall green October here, but then this dumps, and then so we could see, you know, a lot of price action, pumps and dumps, but at the end we could see a green close for each month. So that would be great. And according to these averages, you know, any dump is a great buy opportunity. So that's looking good, looking quite positive there. But this is the S&P 500. So let's actually take a look at the S&P 500 and see what it's looking like right now. As Bitcoin tends to follow the S&P 500, not everybody wants to admit that. But the only time Bitcoin has had all-time highs is when the Dow Jones and I believe the S&P 500 have created an all-time high. All right, every single time in history. Okay, so what we are seeing right now is, a July peak and then a dump into August, pump to the end of August, but then a dump in September. Let's see. Let's look at the monthly close. Well, this is very interesting because we got a green month of September for Bitcoin. But for the S&P 500, we got a massive red for September. We got a red for August and a red for September. Let's actually pull up the Bitcoin chart here as well. Bitcoin. Let's compare. Actually, let me make it easier to look at here. Bitcoin, new pane. There we go. It's kind of tough to see that there. All right, so Bitcoin's on the bottom. So S&P 500 in August, we saw a red. Bitcoin, we saw a pretty big red candle for the month. S&P 500 for September, we saw a massive red candle. For Bitcoin, we saw a small green candle. That's very interesting. I wonder if there's more downward pressure for Bitcoin if the S&P 500 drops so much. Because sometimes there's a delay. But let me know in the comments what y'all think. This is interesting here. video